The sky is gray, as if it is blocked by a thick curtain, and the sun has long been set. On the ground, the broken building skeletons were like giant skeletons, quiet in the deserted wasteland. There was a rotting smell in the air, which was the spores of the different plants scattered everywhere, looking for any life that could be swallowed. I sat in the thunder driver, holding the rod tightly with both hands, staring at the display screen in front of me. Thunder number is my hard work. This mobile castle is made of parts rolled in the ruins. It is not tall, but the thick armor is like a moving city wall. The shoe strap on the bottom plate can crush any obstacles. Although the turret on the top has not been fully adjusted, it can be used. This is the only hope for our survivors. There is something unusual in the direction of the 3 o'clock in front. Ziheo's voice was transmitted from the headphones, and a little uneasy was emerged. He was responsible for investigation outside the fortress, riding a modified off-road motorcycle, and was covered with weapons brought from the ruins. What's unusual? I replied, quickly switching screen angles. Although the Thunder's detection system is simple, it can hardly scan the area around hundreds of meters. Plant, a large area of plants. They are moving and coming towards us. Ziheo's voice was a little tighter. It's not an ordinary strange grass. This thing is like living, the vines are twisting, and it's very fast. My heart sank suddenly. Since the end of the world, the plant has become the greatest threat to humans. They are no longer static green lives, but monsters that will actively attack. The vines can hang on the vines like snakes, their roots can pierce the steel plates, and their most solid refuges will be destroyed. But this is the first time I have heard of such a large-scale mobile flora. Everyone, prepare for the fight. The non-fighter retreats to the interior and closes all external channels. I pressed the collar and issued an order to the survivors in the castle batten. Although the Thunder is narrow inside, it can accommodate more than 50 people. There are elderly people, children, and some injured warriors here. They are all people I must protect. Can we do it? A trembling voice came from the caller. It was Xiaoya, a little girl who was only 14 years old. Before the end of the world, she was still a student, and now she had to face these monsters with us. Don't worry, with me here, the Thunder will not fall. I tried my best to make my voice sound stable, but my palms were already sweating. It's not because of fear, but because I know that the Thunder's firepower system has not been completely repaired. If the flora is really as fierce as Zihao said, we might have marijuana. On the screen, the scene ahead finally became clear. A black and green wave swept from the ruins, which were countless different vines, twisting like countless giant pythons crawling on the ground, and their speed was amazing. The vine was covered with barbs of slimness, and occasionally some huge buds could be seen, and something seemed to be squirming inside. Zihao, don't fight hard, come back. I shouted loudly, and at the same time, the Thunder engine was activated, and the belt made a low sound of rushing birds, and the entire fortress began to move forward slowly. I have to find a high point in the ground to facilitate the turret to exert power. Receive it. I'll stop first, be careful. Ziheo's voice was filled with a hard air. Later, I heard the roar of the motorcycle engine. He should have been rushing towards the flora and trying to attract attention. This stupid guy. I clenched my teeth and calculated the strategy in my brain. Although the armor of Thunder is solid, if it is trapped by a large number of vines, the belt may be stuck and will only be beaten. The amount of them must be weakened before they get close. I switched to the turret control interface and quickly knocked on the broken keyboard. The energy bar of the main gun is still charging slowly, but the secondary gun is useful, but its power is limited, so a few vines are cut off at the top. Moon, they are coming soon. Someone in the interior was startled, and through the observation window, they could already see the black and green wave. Don't panic, give me a minute. I responded loudly, and at the same time, the external audio system of the Thunder was turned on, so that my voice could be transmitted to every corner. Everyone, please be careful, I won't let these things touch you. A minute, it's simple to say, but I know that this minute may be the key to our life and death. The flora has approached 100 meters, and the tip of the vines begins to slap the ground probably, as if looking for weaknesses. Bang! There was a huge sound, and the thunder suddenly shook, as if it was hit by some heavy object. I looked down and saw a rough vine hitting near the left shoe belt, and a clean crack appeared on the armor. Do you die? Is this powerful? I gritted my teeth and quickly adjusted the angle of the cannon. The secondary cannon opened fire, and a blue arc shot out, hitting the vine. The vines let out a harsh scream, shrinking back like a living thing, but more vines had already swept up and began to slap the thunder armor wildly. Monthly, I was slapped on the left side, and my walking force decreased by 5%. The built-in system prompt sound came coldly, and I felt a flash in my heart and immediately switched to the repair interface. My mechanical heart ability took effect at this time, and all the structures of the thunder number appeared in the sea of brain, and the damaged parts appeared before my eyes as if they were enlarged. Don't hurry, I'll do it. I took a deep breath, danced on the console with my fingers, and at the same time, I lowered my voice to the command, turn the power to the right side of the shoe belt, start the backup energy circuit, and stabilize the left side of the armor. Thunder's internal system began to respond to my commands, and the damaged parts were temporarily isolated and the force was redistributed. Although it could not be completely repaired, it could at least allow us to move continuously. Moon baby, there are more outside. I saw a big guy behind them. Ziheo's voice came from the headphones again, with a clear shock. It's a huge flower bud, and the vines seem to grow from there. Flower bud? I raised my eyebrows and a bad premonition rose in my heart. It doesn't sound like ordinary variegated plants. Is there anything that's pointing at them? Without time to think about it, the vine's attack became more and more fierce. Although the thunder armor was solid, it began to appear more cracks. The crying and shocking sounds in the interior came one after another. I knew that if I didn't fight back, the military would collapse. The main gun charge is completed. The system prompt sound finally started, my eyes lit up, and I suddenly pressed the firing button. Gee! A loud noise was shocking, and the main gun at the top of the thunder emitted a hot energy beam, directly towards the flora ahead. Wherever the light column passed, the vines instantly turned into gray, and even the ground was burned with a charred valley. The black and green wave was torn apart, and screams came one after another, as if these plants could really feel pain. Beautiful! Ziheo shouted in the phone, full of excitement, you guy is really reliable. Don't relax, there's more. I didn't have time to be excited, quickly adjust the angle of the turret and continue to shoot. The main guns consume very quickly, but I must take advantage of the fact that they are now weakening their numbers. After several consecutive gunfires, the attack of the flora was finally suppressed, and the remaining vines began to retreat, as if waiting for something. I gasped and wiped off the sweat from my head, and I didn't relax at all. The huge flower bud that Ziheo said has not appeared yet, and the battle has not ended. Ziheo, what's the situation? I pressed the collar and spoke quickly. They retreated, but they didn't go far. The bud was still behind, and it felt like they were watching us. Ziheo's voice fell down, this is not a random shot. These things are organized, like someone, or something is controlling. Manipulate? My heart suddenly jumped, and a terrible guess appeared in my brain. If there is really something that can control these varied plants, the enemy we face may be far more dangerous than we thought. Let's go back first, we have to reform the plan. I said in a deep voice, while taking a look at the energy bar on the screen. The charging of the main gun is almost exhausted and cannot be used in a short period of time. The damage of the thunder also takes time to repair. Okay, I'll go back soon. Ziheo responded, and then I heard the sound of the motorcycle's engine from far away. Inside the thunder, the crying of the survivors gradually subsided, and some people began to whisper the short battle. I switched to the internal call channel and said lightly, everyone is calm, we are safe. Thunder will not fall, and I will not let these monsters hurt you. Yuzi, thank you. Xiaoya's voice came from the collar, with a crying voice, I just thought we were going to die. Silly girl, what a fool to say. I smiled reluctantly, with me here, who doesn't want to move you? Although I said this, I know in my heart that this is just the beginning. The controller Ziheo said, and the mysterious Bud, all predicted that a greater threat was coming. I looked down at the Thunder console, my fingers gently scrubbing the broken keyboard. This fortress is our hope, but it is not strong yet, I must make it stronger to protect everyone. Mechanical heart. I murmured softly, closed my eyes, and the Thunder structure again appeared in the sea of brain. Maybe, it's time to unblock the new system and give these monsters a real surprise. There was a sensation of exhaustion in the Thunder. Although the battle to retreat to the different flora won, everyone knew that it was just a short breath. The energy storage of the fortress has been fully realized. Although the wound on the left side of the shoe was repaired temporarily by me, it was not at its best. If there is another wave of attacks, we may not even have the chance to escape. I sat in the drive, staring at the energy bars on the console, my eyebrows tightly locked. Thunder is our lifeblood, but it is now like an injured giant and must find resource repair and upgrade, otherwise it will not be so good next time. Yuezi, the situation outside is stable, and I didn't find the traces of the flora at a time. Ziheo's voice came from the collar. He just came back from the outside of the fortress, with a tiredness in his language. But we have to move tightly, and food and water are almost gone. I know. I clicked the head, tapped my finger on the console, and adjusted the Thunder numbers reserved data. Food and water can last for 3 days, and the energy core is less than 10% of the electricity, which can support daily operation and cannot open the fire again. Ziheo, have you heard of any abandoned points or resource points nearby? I asked, counting on the speed played in my brain. We must find the energy and materials, otherwise the Thunder will turn into a pile of waste irons sooner. There is a place. Ziheo hesitated for a moment, and his voice fell. When I checked the last time, I heard other survivors mention that a deserted military base was located southeast, about a day away. It was said that there were a lot of military supplies there, and maybe even energy cores, but no one dared to get close to it. Why don't you dare? I raised my eyebrows and guessed the answer in my heart, but I still wanted to hear him confirm. Plant. Ziheo spitted out 2 words, and the words were heavy. I heard that the base had been occupied by different plants, and no one who came in could come back. Some people said that there was a particularly fierce plant guarding in it, which was even more terrifying than what we had just encountered. I was silent for a while, my fingers knocking on the console. The risks are huge, but we don't have any choice. Thunder requires an energy core, and military bases are the most likely places to be found. If we give up this opportunity, we may never find a similar resource point again. Ziheo, prepare for it, let's go to that base. I was determined and didn't hesitate at all. You are responsible for the investigation outside, and I'll operate the Thunder. Tell everyone, have a good rest today and set off tomorrow morning. I understand. Ziheo responded, and then he passed the sound of his far away from the collar. I leaned against the driving chair, closed my eyes, and the Thunder numbers structure appeared in the sea of brain. The ability of the mechanical heart allows me to clearly see the position and status of each part, but because of this, I know more about its fragility. If this operation fails, we may really be completely defeated. Yuzi, have you really decided? Xiaoya's voice was heard from the inside. She stood at the door of the driving door, and her thin figure looked a little uneasy. I heard that base is very dangerous. It's okay, I'm here. I opened my eyes and smiled at her. Thunder will protect us, and we must go. If we don't find resources, everyone will die of fertility or be swallowed by plants. You believe me, right? Xiaoya bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, and finally pointed, I believe in you, Yuezi. You have never disappointed us. Her words warmed my heart, but the pressure was even greater. I must succeed, not only for myself, but also for those who trust me. The next morning, the strap of thunder once again crushed the wasteland and made a deep sound of slaughter. Under the dark sky, the fortress moved forward slowly and drove towards the military base southeast. Zihao rode the motorcycle and explored the way forward, and reported the situation through the phone. Yuezi, the road ahead is still flat, and I didn't find any flora tracks. His voice continued, probably because the signal was unstable. But I saw some dead bodies, like they were torn apart by something, and I felt a little uneven. Be careful and stay in touch at any time. I responded, switching the thunder detection system and scanning the surrounding environment. There is no abnormality around the screen, but there is always an indescribable anxiety in my heart. A few hours later, a huge building cluster appeared on the horizon from far away. That should be the military base, that Zihao said. Although it is far apart, you can see the high-end wall and several broken watchtowers. The walls are covered with black and green vines, like a thick net, wrapping the entire base strictly. Here. Zihao's voice came from the collar, carrying a tight thread. Yuzi, have you seen those vines? See it. I narrowed my eyes and observed the situation around the base. The vines are indeed calm, but the number of them makes the skin numb, covering almost every inch of the wall. If these things come alive, the thunder may be enclosed instantly. Don't be rude first, let's look for a safe distance. I ordered, and at the same time, I controlled the thunder to park behind the ruins about 1 kilometer away from the base, using the broken building as a cover. Zihao quickly rode back to the fortress with his motorcycle, jumped out of the car and went straight into the driving. His face was covered in dust, but his eyes were sharp and he was obviously ready for a fight. Yuezi, I just turned around the base and found that there was a broken entrance on the east side, which should be able to enter. He said, and used his fingers to draw the way out on the screen of the console. But there are the most dense vines there, so it must be hard to enter. It's not hard, the current firepower of thunder is not enough. I slammed my head and thought about solutions quickly in my brain. The mechanical heart's ability allows me to perceive every detail of the thunder, but also tells me that in my current state, a strong breakthrough will only put us in the boundary. What should I do? I can't wait here. Zihao raised his eyebrows, obviously a little impatient. Wait. I suddenly thought of something and my eyes lit up. The military base usually has a defense system, even if it is aborted, there may be a silence of control. If I can crack it with the mechanical heart, maybe it can close some of the defense, or at least distract those vines. Can you do it? Zihao looked at me, with doubt in his eyes, but more of anticipation. Try it. I grinned, then closed my eyes and focused. The mechanical heart's ability is activated, and a blurred signal network appears in the brain, like a faint wave emitted by electronic equipment left in the base. I tried connecting these signals, and my fingers flew on the console to find a breakthrough in the picture. Time passed by minute by second, and fine beads of sweat came out from the base. The base system is more complicated than I imagined. Although most of the functions have been damaged, the core firewall is still running strongly. I clenched my teeth and continued to go deeper, finally finding a loophole in a bunch of mixed data. It's done. I suddenly opened my eyes, and the sound was difficult to hide my excitement. I connected to the base's assist system and could close the defense network on the east side for about 5 minutes. We must take advantage of this opportunity to move in. 5 minutes. It's over. Zihao slapped his thighs and quickly stood up. I'll take a few people to explore the way, you'll cover it up behind. Be careful, don't fight hard. I dinged, and started the thunder engine at the same time and prepared to follow in at any time. With a low buzz, the defense net on the east side of the base suddenly flashed for a few seconds and then completely turned off. The originally static vines seemed to be awakened and began to silence and twist, but because of the system's interference, their actions seemed a little slow. Just now, rush! Zihao shouted, and led several warriors out of the side of the thunder and quickly ran towards the entrance of the base. I controlled the thunder and followed closely, and the deputy cannon was on standby at any time, and once a vine approached, it would immediately open. Bang! Bang! Several sounds of deep voices, Ziheo and others used modified flame guns to smolder the vine quilts, causing a pungent burnt smell. The thunder's shoe belt rolled over the ground, slammed into a pile of dead bodies, and finally entered the base. The scene inside is creepy. Originally, it was a place where military facilities were completely occupied by plants. The ground was covered with black and green moss, the walls were covered with vines, and even some heavy equipment was swallowed by plants, revealing only a few broken metal corners. The energy core should be in the main control room and head north. I pointed through the phone and scanned the surrounding environment. The ability of the mechanical heart allows me to perceive a powerful wave of energy, right at the depth of the base. Received. Ziheo responded and quickly moved forward with the man. But at this moment, the ground suddenly shook, and a huge vine suddenly burst out from the ground, swaying towards them like a living thing. Be careful! I shouted, quickly adjusted the angle of the cannon, and an electric arc shot out, hitting the vine. The vines let out a harsh scream and shrank back, but more vines began to flow from all directions, as if they were going to encircle us. These things are even more important than those outside. Ziheo's voice was filled with anger, and the flame guns in his hand kept spraying the flame tongue, but the amount of plants guarding was too much, almost causing them to fail to move forward. Stop, I'll open the way. I bit my teeth and controlled the thunder to speed up. The belt directly crushed a pile of vines, and broke out a path. Although the armor was constantly slapped by vines and made a harsh thumping sound, I didn't have time to feel distressed and had to get to the main control room as soon as possible. After a few minutes, we finally pulled to the door of the main control room. The plants here are more densely guarded, almost forming a live wall to prevent us from entering. Ziyu, the door has been blocked, what should I do? Ziheo gasped, his voice full of anxiety. Let's open, I'll come. I quickly switched to the close combat mode of thunder, and the impact corner in front of the fortress extended out, and directly crashed into the door with huge habits. With a stop sound, the thick metal door was knocked open, revealing the dim space inside. Go in. I shouted, and at the same time, I controlled the deputy gun to shoot, covering Ziheo and the others into the main control room. It is full of broken equipment, but there is a circular cylindrical device flashing with blue light in the center, the energy core. That's it. Z shouted happily and quickly stepped forward to try to move the core. But at this moment, the ground shook again, and countless vines burst out from the walls and floors, like angry wild animals, coming towards us. Quick, protect the core. I shouted, and the Thunder's deputy cannon opened fire with all his might, but the attack of plant defense became more and more fierce, and even began to surround the straps of the fortress, and the test picture dragged us. Moon Master, this won't work. We have to go away. Ziheo held the energy core and his face was blue. Sweep for another time. I gritted my teeth and calculated the speed of flying in the sea of brain. The ability of the heart of mechanism made me think of the core usage method in an instant. As long as I connect it to the Thunder system, I can immediately start the rapid upgrade mode and unblock new weapons. Ziheo, throw the core into the Thunder access slot, hurry. I shouted, and opened the access slot at the top of the fortress. Ziheo didn't ask much, and threw the core into the groove with all his might. With a low voice, the Thunder system began to turn wildly, and the words, "Sharp upgrade mode starts," are displayed on the screen. I closed my eyes and focused my mind. The mechanical heart was completely synchronized with the fortress system. A brand new weapon design, the electromagnetic cannon, appeared in the brain. After the upgrade is completed, the electromagnetic cannon will be blown away. The system prompt sounded, and I suddenly opened my eyes and pressed the firing button with my fingers. G! A circle of invisible electromagnetic waves exploded from the top of Thunder. The surrounding plants instantly stiffened, and then they seemed to have their vitality dried up, and they kept withering and falling to the ground. The vines in the entire main control room were swept away, leaving only the burnt bones and pungent smell. My God! Zihao stood there in a daze, looking at the surrounding scene, and it took him a long time to return to his god. My moon, you guy, you are simply a monster. Don't waste, go away. I gasped. Although the electromagnetic cannon was amazing, its energy consumption was also huge. The Thunder's reserves were full again and must be tightly removed. Under my guidance, Zihao quickly returned to the fortress with the warriors and drove out of the base with Thunder. Although the plant guards were cleared, the vines from far away seemed to be starting to move again. We dared not stay for a long time and accelerated toward the depths of the wasteland. A few hours later, the Thunder stopped in a relatively safe ruin. I sat in the driving car, checking the data of the electromagnetic cannon, and my heart was filled with a sense of accomplishment. This upgrade not only increases the Thunder's fighting power by a file, but also gives us a little more hope of survival in the end of the world. Just when I was fighting, I realized something unusual. Zihao walked into the driving line, his face slightly solemn. These plants' guardian movements are so organized, and I scanned them with the tester I took, and found a strange mental wave, like something is controlling them far away. Mental fluctuations? I raised my eyebrows and my heart sank. Zihao's guess is inconsistent with my previous thoughts. If there is really something that can control these varied plants, the enemy we face may be far beyond our imagination. Yes, although it's very weak, I'm sure it's not a natural phenomenon. Zihao pointed his head and his language was low. We have to be careful. This may not be just a survival battle, but someone, or something is pointing at us. I was silent for a while, my fingers knocking on the console. No matter who this manipulator is, its existence makes our situation even more dangerous. But now, we have at least a stronger weapon and more hope. No matter who it is, if you dare to come and ask for trouble, I will let it know that Thunder number is not easy to mess with. Zihao pointed a little and grinned. I'll feel relieved if you have this sentence. Let's go, let's continue to fuck. The Thunder engines rushed up again, taking us, the survivors, towards the unknown depths of the wasteland. Although the road ahead is full of danger, I know that as long as there is Thunder and Mechanical Heart, we still have hope. The Thunder number's shoe belt was crushed on the wasteland, making a deep sound of slut, shaking up a dusty dust. The sky was still so gray, as if it would never turn blue, and the air was filled with a smell of scorched earth and rotten plants, making people feel wailed in their chests. I sat in the drive, staring at the display screen in front of me, and my fingers were tapping on the console in a while, checking the data of the fortress. The addition of the energy core has greatly increased the Thunder's fighting power. The power of the electromagnetic cannon has allowed us to successfully destroy it in the last battle, but the energy storage is still tight. After just one battle, less than 5% of the reserves were left, which was barely able to support daily operation, and the firepower system was almost in a standstill. If we meet enemies again, we may not even have the chance to get them. The moon is a bit complicated in front of me, and it is a wasteland industrial area. Zihao's voice came from the caller. He was exploring the way forward with a motorcycle, carrying a cautious look in his language. I saw some plant bones, but I didn't find the living body, so it was safe at all. However, the road here is difficult to walk, and the Thunder may have to be traced. If you can't do it, you will waste more energy. I glanced at me, quickly switched the screen corners to view the terrain map sent back by Zihao. The terrain of the industrial area is indeed complex, full of collapsed factories and broken pipes. Although the Thunder Trail can crush most of the barriers, if it is stuck, the consequences will be unthinkable. Zihao, first check a relatively flat route, and I will follow behind. I said in a deep voice, and at the same time I issued instructions to the survivors inside. Everyone, check the safety belt, and you may feel a little bumpy next, don't be disturbed. I understand. Zihao responded, and then the motorcycle's engine sound went from close to far away, so he should have accelerated to explore the way forward. The Thunder went forward slowly, and the carpet crushed a pile of dead bones, making a harsh metal friction sound. I was fully attentive to control the castle, and the structure of the mechanical heart appeared in the sea of brain, and prepared for sudden developments at any time. Although the electromagnetic gun was upgraded, the problem of insufficient energy was always a problem. I had to find new resources as soon as possible, or find a way to optimize the thunder energy system. My moon, I found a way, and I can barely pass. Ziheo's voice sounded again, carrying a flash of excitement. Just in front, turn left through a scrap factory, and then walk straight out of the industrial area. Okay, take the way. I replied, adjusting the direction of the thunder number and heading towards the position indicated by Ziheo. The detection system of the fortress scans the surrounding environment, and the screen shows that everything is normal and there is no sign of plant activity, which makes me feel a little relaxed. However, just as thunder passed through the wasteland and disappeared, the ground suddenly shook, as if something had been pulled out from the ground. I was surprised, quickly switched the corners, looked down and saw a black and green shadow on the screen, surging from all directions, and was astonishing as I could. Ziheo, what's going on? I shouted, and my fingers were pressed on the control key of the secondary gun. It's a plant. You'll die, it's a group of giant man-eating flowers. Ziheo's voice was filled with anger. Later, I heard the roar of the motorcycle engine and a fierce gun. They came out from the ground, with a lot of numbers. Yuezi, be careful. I bit my teeth tightly, quickly enlarged the screen angle, and finally saw the enemy's image clearly. It was a group of huge plant monsters, each of which was 3 or 4 meters high, with a giant flower bud on its top, with long teeth full of sharp teeth, like a bloody mouth that could swallow everything. Below the buds are thick vines, twisting on the ground like touching hands, and coming towards the thunder. Everyone, prepare for the fight. The non-fighter retreats to the inside and closes all external channels. I pressed the collar, gave the orders to the inside of the castle, and at the same time activated the thunder's firepower system. However, the energy bar on the screen made my heart feel half-heartedly. The secondary cannon was hard to use, but the electromagnetic cannon was completely out of the offline state and could not open fire at all. Yuezi, these things are even more than the previous vines, I can't stop it. Ziheo's voice came from the collar and continued, and it was obviously in a fierce battle. Their buds can spray acid, and my motorcycle armor was corroded. Stop, I'll support. I shouted, quickly controlled the thunder number to accelerate, and rushed towards Ziheo. The deputy cannon opened fire, and arcs shot out, hitting several human-eating flowers. The buds burst into sharp screams and shrunk back, but more monsters emerged from the ground, as if they were in vain. Bang! There was a huge sound, and the armor on the left side of the thunder was hit hard by a vine. The entire fort was shocked and there was a sensation in the interior. I looked down and saw a crack appeared on the left armor on the screen. Although it was not fatal, the belt might get stuck after a few more times. Don't die, why are these things so powerful? I gritted my teeth and thought about solutions quickly in my brain. The power of the secondary gun is limited and cannot deal with such too many cannibal flowers. The electromagnetic gun cannot be used due to insufficient energy. The thunder no is now like a wounded beast, surrounded by monsters and may be dragged down at any time. My moon, we have to suddenly become entangled, otherwise we will be exhausted. Ziheo's voice sounded again, with a hint of anxiety, I'll try to lead them out, you can find a chance to get out. No. We can't leave either of you or we can't leave. I refused, and at the same time closed my eyes and focused my energy to activate the mechanical heart. The structure of the thunder number appears in the brain, and the data of the surrounding environment also flooded my mind like a flood. I tried to analyze the weaknesses of these cannibal flowers and find a breakthrough. As time passed, the thunder armor was constantly slapped by vines, making a harsh sound. The crying and shocking sounds in the interior came one after another. I knew that if I didn't fight back, the military would collapse. Suddenly, my consciousness caught a strange thing. Although these cannibal vines are lush, the surface layer seems to have a layer of viscous liquid that is extremely sensitive to temperature changes. Especially high temperature, as long as they reach a certain level, their organization can quickly drain water and even burn directly. High temperature. I suddenly opened my eyes, and a big thought appeared in the sea of brain. Although the Thunder's firepower system is insufficient, if I can change the energy output mode of the secondary gun, convert the arc into a high-temperature flame, or maybe burn these monsters. Ziheo, I have a way to fight for 10 minutes. I shouted, and at the same time, my fingers quickly hit the console, tuning out the Thunder weapon system design diagram. The ability of the mechanical heart allowed me to understand the functions of each part in an instant. I quickly re-edit the energy circuit of the secondary gun and tried to convert the electricity into heat. 10 minutes. You're crazy. Ziheo's voice was filled with disbelief, but then he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'll fight. Brothers, follow me and cover up the moon." The roars of Ziheo and the warriors were transmitted from the collar, and they rushed out the side of the Thunder and used flame guns and modified weapons to fight the cannibal flowers. Although they successfully attracted the attention of some monsters, more cannibal flowers still came to the fortress, with the vines slapping their armors and even trying to paint the carpets. In the system structure, the energy circuit adjustment is completed. As the prompt sound in the brain started, I suddenly pressed the confirmation key, and the Thunder's subcannon emitted a low sound, and a hot red light began to appear from the muzzle. "Fire spray system, start!" I shouted, pressing the firing key with my fingers. In an instant, the deputy cannon sprayed a hot tongue of flames, sweeping over the group of cannibal flowers in front of him like a fire dragon. Wherever the flames passed, the monsters screamed, and the buds and vines withered quickly, then turned into a pile of charred gray. "My God, Moon Master, what kind of black technology are you like?" Ziheo's voice came from the phone, full of shock. These monsters were burned to the point of being left. "Don't waste your time, continue to cover me. The energy is not enough, and the flame system can only last for a few minutes." I gritted my teeth and responded, adjusting the angle of the turret to allow the flame to cover a larger range. The group of cannibal flowers around Thunder was burned out into an open space, and the black and green monsters slammed into the flames, emitting a harsh sorrow, and the air was filled with a burnt smell. The power of the flame spray system is far beyond my expectations. The cannibal flower is almost resistant to high temperatures. As long as it is touched by the flames, it will quickly lose its fighting power, and even be burned directly. The surrounding area of Thunder was quickly cleared out of a safe area, and the remaining monsters began to retreat, as if they were scared. "My moon, these things have retreated." Z shouted happily, "We have won. Don't relax, the energy is exhausted soon, we have to take advantage of the situation." I responded quickly, and controlled the Thunder to accelerate forward and headed towards the exit of the industrial area. The energy bars of the flame spray system have been fully realized, and they can hold them for up to 1 minute. If they are enclosed, we may not even have the chance to escape. Ziheo quickly returned to the fortress with the warriors. The Thunderbolt's shoe belt crushed the charred plant bones on the ground, and forced a bunch of slaughter bones, and finally broke out of the industrial area. Behind him, the screams of the cannibal flowers gradually moved away, as if they finally gave up the chase. A few minutes later, the Thunder stopped in a relatively safe ruin. I leaned against the driving chair, wiped off the sweat from my head, and relaxed my breath. Although the battle just now won, the Thunder's energy storage was almost exhausted, and the flame spray system also left the line temporarily due to overloading, so it had to be retuned. "My moon, you're so stupid." Ziheo walked into the driving wheel, his face covered in dust, but his eyes were full of excitement. As soon as the flames came out, these monsters were stunned. I have never seen such a shocking scene. Don't say it, I almost lost my life. I smiled reluctantly, knocked my fingers on the console, and recalled the battle just now in my brain. The ability of the mechanical heart allows me to find a breakthrough at the critical moment, but the problem of insufficient energy is always a fatal hazard. If you don't solve this problem, the next battle may not be so good. I'm going back, Yuezi. I found some abnormalities in the battle. Ziheo's face suddenly became solemn and his temperament was low. I scanned it with the tester I brought and found that there was a strong spiritual wave behind these cannibal movements, as if I was controlled by something remotely. Is it another mental fluctuation? I raised my eyebrows and my heart sank. Last time at the military base, Ziheo also mentioned similar abnormalities, but it is obviously not a coincidence that it has appeared again. Yes, and this time I locked the source of the wave. Ziheo clicked the point and took out an old handheld device from his pocket. A string of data and a blurred coordinates were displayed on the screen. The wave comes from the northwest, far from us, but very strong. I doubt that there may be the true core of these varied plants. Core. I murmured softly, and a terrible guess appeared in the sea of my brain. If there is really something that can control these plant monsters at a distance, it is likely to be our final enemy. The coordinates Ziheo said may be the source of the different plants. Ziheo, I need to analyze further when passing the data to me, I said in a deep voice, and at the same time, I connected his equipment and directed the data into the thunder system. A simple map is quickly displayed on the screen, and the northwest coordinates are marked as a huge red area, like some forbidden area. Yuzi, look at this shape. Ziheo pointed to the red area on the screen, and there was a shock in his voice. This is not like an ordinary flora, but more like a huge tree. Huge tree. I narrowed my eyes and carefully observed the data on the screen. The shape of the red area is indeed like a tree with its roots buried deep in the ground and its branches covering the sky and the sun. If this is really the source of the different plants, it may be the goal we must destroy. If this is a mother tree, everything will be said to be. I said softly, counting the speed plate in my brain, these cannibal flowers, vines, and even the previous plant guards may be their extensions. It controls everything through mental fluctuations and tries to wipe us out. Then what should we do next? Ziheo looked at me, his eyes full of anticipation. This guy is not easy to mess with. No matter how strong it is, we have to face it. I was determined and my fingers slid across the console. Thunder is our hope, and as long as I am there, it will not fall. Next, we have to continue to move forward, find more resources, and prepare for the battle with this mother tree. Ziheo pointed a little and grinned. I'll feel relieved if you have this sentence. Let's go, let's continue to fuck. I smiled and then started the thunder engine. The fortress once again emitted a low voice, carrying us, the survivors, towards the unknown depths of the wasteland. Although the road ahead is full of danger, I know that as long as we have a mechanical heart and a thunder number are there, we still have hope. The mother tree in the northwest direction may be the end of our fate. But until then, I will let it know that the flames of thunder are enough to burn as dark as possible. The thunder number's shoe belt was crushed over the wasteland, making a deep sound of slumber, shaking a dusty dust. The sky is still so dark, like a layer of pendant curtain that never fades away, and the sun has long become a luxury in memory. The air is filled with the smell of rotten plants and scorched earth, making people feel waxing in their chests. I sat in the drive, staring at the display screen in front of me, and my fingers were tapping on the console in a while, checking the data of the fortress. Since the last battle with the cannibal flower group, the Thunder's energy storage has reached the edge of danger. Although the power of the electromagnetic cannon and the flame spray system is amazing, the high consumption makes us unable to use it frequently. There are only less than 3% of the reserves left now, and it can barely maintain daily operation, and the firepower system is almost in a semi-stop state. I know that if we don't find new resource points as quickly as possible, or optimize our energy system, we may not be able to fight the next battle. Yuzi, the terrain data in the northwest direction has been updated. Ziheo's voice came from the caller. He rode a motorcycle to explore the way forward, with a solemn expression in his language. In front is a deserted plain, with a lot of plants and bones, and he feels not very agitated. I suggest slowing down and be careful. Received. I clicked the head, quickly switched the screen corners to view the terrain map sent back by Ziheo. The plain terrain was indeed suitable for thunder, but the dead bodies of the plants made me feel uneasy. Especially the source of spiritual fluctuations mentioned by Ziheo, the existence of the suspected mother tree, which is getting closer and closer to us, and the sense of threat is getting stronger and stronger. Ziheo, stay alert and report abnormalities at any time, I said in a deep voice, and at the same time I issued instructions to the survivors inside. Everyone, check the safety belt, there may be sudden events in the next step, don't be disturbed. I understand. Ziheo responded, and then the motorcycle's engine sound went from close to far away, so he should have accelerated to explore the way forward. Thunder rushes into the plain, and grinds over the black and green plants slaughtered on the ground, making a dentifritic friction sound. I was fully attentive to control the castle, and the structure of the mechanical heart appeared in the sea of brain, and prepared for sudden developments at any time. Ever since I confirmed the existence of the mother tree, I realized in my heart that this battle is no longer a single pure survival, but a battle against a stronger and more unknown enemy. Yuzi, I found something unusual in front of me. Ziheo's voice suddenly came from the collar, and there was a sudden surprise. There is a huge plant structure in the center of the plain, like a tree, but it is moving. The surrounding plant bones are also gathering, as if attracted by something. Move. My heart sank and I quickly switched to the detection system. A huge black-green shadow appeared on the screen, occupying the center of the plain. The branches of the tree were as thick as they could cover the sky and the sun. The roots were buried deep in the ground, and countless small vines emerged from the ground, twisting like living things, approaching towards the thunder. Ziheo, don't get close, come back. I shouted, and my fingers were pressed on the control key of the secondary gun. However, the energy bar on the screen made my heart feel half-heartedly. The secondary cannon can be used, but the electromagnetic cannon is completely out of the offline state due to insufficient energy. If the other party launches an attack, our firepower will not be enough at all. Received, I'll go back soon. Ziheo responded, and then I heard the roar of the motorcycle engine. He should be rushing towards the thunder at full speed. At this moment, a huge tree in the middle of the plain suddenly sounded a low sound, as if something had woken up from the deep underground. Numerous vines emerged from the ground, slamming towards the thunder like giant pythons, and were astonishingly fast. At the same time, a huge gap broke out on the tree, revealing a black and green light group, and a human figure appeared in the light group. Human, you finally came. A cold voice sounded, as if it was directly reverberating in my brain, carrying a sense of sensation of urgency. The light group on the screen gradually became clear, and a woman appeared. She was wearing a black-green robe, her hair was scattered like a vine, and the green light in her eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Who are you? I gritted my teeth, suppressed the anxiety in my heart, and asked in a deep voice. Thunder's detection system has locked her, but the data shows that her existence is completely beyond the norm, like a blend of the surrounding plants. I am Xiaowei, the guardian of plants, and your endorsement. The woman's voice was as cold as ice, and a strange smile came out from the corner of her mouth. Thunder? The ridiculous iron shell. Do you think that by sucking this pile of broken copper wires, can you challenge the majesty of the mother tree? Guardian? Ziheo's voice came from the collar, with anger. Are you the guy who controls these monsters? Let you know today that we are not easy to mess with. Insight people. Xiaohui sneered, then raised her hand and sniffed it. The vines on the plain accelerated instantly as if they had heard a command, and rushed towards the thunder. At the same time, the branches of the giant tree began to twist, and countless sharp wooden thorns fell from the air, hitting the fort like a heavy rain. Everyone, prepare for the fight. Non-fighters retreat to the interior and close all external channels. I shouted, quickly activated the thunder defense mode. The deck began to shrink, and tried to get the attack. However, there are too many vines and thorns. The thunder armor is constantly hit, making a harsh collision sound, and cracks appear on the screen. Bang! With a huge sound, a thick vine hit the left side of the thunder number hard, and the entire fortress shook violently, almost turning over. The inside was shocked and I looked down and the screen showed that the damage rate of the armor on the left side reached 30%, the force of the shoe belt decreased, and the movement speed was strongly reduced. Don't die, this guy's attack is too fierce. Ziheo's voice came from the collar, full of anxiety. Yuezi, my motorcycle was trapped by vines. I'm trying to lead them out, you'll find a chance to suddenly break out. No, we can't leave either of you or we can't leave. I refused, and at the same time, I controlled the secondary cannon to open fire, and electric arcs shot out, barely repelling a few vines. But Xiaowi's attack did not show any sign of weakness. More vines emerged from the ground, and even began to surf the Thunder Number's shoelace, and the test picture kept us from finally. My moon, this won't work. The armor will be almost impossible. Someone in the interior screamed, and the sound was full of fear. Don't panic, give me time. I gritted my teeth and responded, thinking about solutions quickly in the sea of my brain. The power of the secondary gun is limited and cannot deal with so many vines at all. The electromagnetic gun cannot be used due to insufficient energy. The Thunder No is now like a wounded beast, surrounded by monsters and may be torn to pieces at any time. Xiaowi's figure floated above the giant tree, her green eyes looked at us coldly, and the smile on the corners of her mouth became more and more intense. Humans, your piercing is indescribable. The power of the mother tree is something you can't imagine. Thunder is just a joke, and will soon be torn to pieces by my vines. Tear to pieces. Make a dream. I bit my teeth tightly, closed my eyes, and focused my energy to activate the mechanical heart. The structure of the Thunder Number appears in the brain. The state of each part is clearly visible, and the data of the surrounding environment also flows into my mind like a flood. I tried to find a breakthrough, even if there was only one line of animal, I had to catch it. Monthly, the armor damage rate reaches 50%, and the left side of the shoe is about to stop. The system prompt sound rose coldly, making my heart sank halfway. The attack of the vines became more and more fierce, and the thunder armor was constantly torn apart, and several vines had even penetrated the outer layer of protection, trying to invade the inner wall. Ziheo, cover me up, it takes me a minute. I shouted, and my fingers quickly tapped on the console, trying to redistribute the energy of the thunder. The ability of the mechanical heart made me think of a huge plan in an instant. If I could concentrate all the remaining energy on the electromagnetic cannon, even if I had only one launch opportunity, I could still storm these vines and fight for time for us. 1 minute. You're crazy. Ziheo's voice was filled with disbelief, but then he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'll fight. Brothers, follow me and cover up the moon." The roars of Ziheo and the warriors were transmitted from the collar, and they rushed out of the side of the thunder and used flame guns and modified weapons to fight with vines. Although they successfully attracted the attention of some vines, Xiaowi's attack still did not diminish. More wood thorns and vines came from all directions, and the thunder armor was almost torn apart, and the crying and shocking sounds in the interior were heard one after another. In the energy structure, the electromagnetic cannon is charged 10%, 20%. The system prompt sound kept rising, and I was operating with all my heart. My palms were filled with sweat. Xiaowi seemed to have noticed my intention, sneered, raised her hand and slapped her. The branches of the giant tree suddenly burst out with a powerful wave of shock and smashed towards the thunder. Road. The thunder scale shook violently, and the armor in front sank directly. The screen showed that the damage rate reached 70%, and the alarm sounded harshly. I bit my teeth and suppressed the panic in my heart. My fingers continued to hit the ball quickly, and finally heard the system prompt sound. The charging of the electromagnetic cannon is completed, and I am ready. It's now. I suddenly opened my eyes and pressed my fingers to the ejaculation key. A low bird sounded from the top of the thunder, and a circle of invisible electromagnetic waves exploded instantly, sweeping across the entire plain. The vines and wooden thorns around them were as stiff as they were fixed, and then they withered and fell to the ground. Even the figure of Xiaoxi was affected, and a low growl made a sound and his floating body shook slightly. My God, it's done. Ziheo's voice came from the phone, full of excitement. Yuzi, all these vines have stopped. Don't relax, the energy is exhausted, we have to take advantage of the situation now. I gasped and quickly controlled the thunder number to accelerate, and rushed towards the plane. Although the electromagnetic cannon successfully invaded the plant attack, the thunder's status has reached its limit and must be tightly disembarked. Xiaowi's figure shook above the giant tree, and his green eyes flashed with anger. Are you a bad person? Do you think you can escape like this? She raised her hands suddenly. Although the vines were still in a turbulent state, the roots of the giant tree suddenly emerged from the ground, and rushed towards the thunder like a giant python, trying to intercept us. Ziheo, cover my right side, I'll be hard. I shouted, and at the same time, the collision pattern of the thunder number was activated. The impact angle in front of me extended out, and directly hit the root system with huge habits. With a stop sound, several root systems were broken. Although the thunder number was created again, it finally broke out of the encirclement circle. Yuzi, safe on the right side, continue to rush. Ziheo quickly returned to the fortress with the warriors, and the flame gun kept spraying the flame tongue, breaking the root system of the trial and chasing. Xiaowi did not continue to chase, but just floated above the giant tree, coldly watching our faraway figure. Her voice reverberated in my brain again, carrying a cold smile. Human, the thunder can't be used to prolong your death. The core of the mother tree is my source of strength, and you will never be able to reach it. When I come again next time, you will be completely transformed into dust. Terror me? Then try it. I gritted my teeth and responded. Although my heart was filled with pressure, my language was not weak. The thunder engine was flying, carrying us, the survivors, and finally left the plane full of death. A few hours later, the thunder stopped in a relatively safe ruin. I leaned against the driving chair, wiped off the sweat from my head, and relaxed my breath. The battle just now consumed almost all the energy of the thunder. The armor damage rate was as high as 80%, and the left side shoe belt was almost wiped out, so emergency repairs were required. My moon, you're so good at that move. Ziheo walked into the driving wheel, his face covered in dust, but his eyes were full of excitement. As soon as the electromagnetic gun was launched, the guy named Xiaowi was stunned. Don't say it, I almost lost my life. I smiled reluctantly, knocked my fingers on the console, and recalled the battle just now in my brain. The existence of Xiaowi made me realize that our enemies are far stronger than I thought, especially the core of the mother tree she mentioned, which is probably our ultimate goal. I'm talking about it, moon and thunder are in a bad state. If this continues, we may not even have the chance to get back to her next time we meet her. Ziheo's face became solemn and his temperament was low. I know. I clicked my head, closed my eyes, and focused my mind to activate the mechanical heart's ability. The structure of the thunder number appears in the brain, and the damaged parts and energy circuits are clearly visible. I'm trying to find ways to repair and upgrade, even if it's just to improve defense at a time, it can give us more hope for survival. Time passed by minute by second, my mind went deep into every detail of thunder, and finally I discovered a feasible solution, by redistributing the structure of the deck, concentrating only the remaining material in the key areas, while optimizing the energy circuit and improving defense in a short period of time. Although this will further reduce the movement speed of the thunder, it can at least resist the next attack. Ziheo, help me prepare tools. I will quickly upgrade the thunder defense system. I opened my eyes and said calmly, also, I'll tell everyone, have a good rest today and we will continue to move forward tomorrow. I understand. Ziheo pointed his head a little and quickly turned around to prepare. After a few hours, under my guidance, the thunder deck was readjusted, and the defense of the key parts increased by nearly 30%. Although the overall state was still poor, at least it would not be easily torn apart again. I leaned against the driving chair and looked at the updated data on the screen, and finally felt a strong sense of confidence in my heart. Ziyu, you guys can always create miracles in the absolute world. Ziheo walked in and grinned, I'm convinced. Don't relax, the core of the mother tree that shall we said is the real threat. I said in a deep voice, my fingers gently swept through the console. We must be ready for it when she comes next time. This battle is not over. Zihao clicked a little, and a look of determination flashed in his eyes. No matter how strong she is, we won't lose with you. Let's go, let's continue to fuck. I smiled and then started the thunder engine. The fortress once again emitted a low voice, carrying us, the survivors, towards the unknown depths of the wasteland. The core of the mother tree, or perhaps the end of our destiny. But before that, I will let Shall We know that the thunder defense is enough to resist all storms. The thunder numbers shoe belt was crushed over the wasteland, making a low and heavy sound of horns, raising a pungent dust. The sky was still so dark, like a layer of ever-dispersed curtains, and the sun had long become an unattainable dream. The air is filled with the smell of rotten plants and scorched earth, and every breath makes people feel waxing in their chest. I sat in the drive, staring at the display screen in front of me, and my fingers kept tapping on the broken console, checking the data of the fortress. Since the last time I met Xiao Hui, the state of thunder has reached its limit. Although I used the mechanical heart to temporarily improve the defense of the key parts, the overall injury rate is still as high as 75%. The left side shoe belt is almost half blocked, and the movement speed is as slow as a cow. The energy reserve is less than 2%, which can barely maintain daily operation, and the firepower system is almost in a state of turbulence. If we hadn't been supported by willpower, we might have fallen long ago. The Moon Master, in front of it is the source of spiritual waves displayed by data. Ziheo's voice came from the caller, with a difficult thread in his language. He rode the old motorcycle and explored the way forward. Although the car was already full of scars with vines and acid, he still did not retreat. I can see that giant tree, bigger than what we saw before, as if we were alive, with varying plants around, and the number was surprisingly large. Received, keep the distance, and don't be discovered. I responded in a deep voice, quickly switching the screen angle to view the image data sent by Ziheo. A black and green forest is shown on the screen, with countless twisted vines and giant man-eating flowers densely ringing against a giant tree in the sky. The branches of the tree are as thick as they can pierce the sky, their roots are buried deep in the ground, and the surface is covered with a layer of green light, like some kind of energy field is flowing. A huge crack could be seen in the middle of the tree, with green light emitting inside, like an entrance to another world. Mother Tree. I murmured softly, and a feeling of imperceptible pressure rose in my heart. This is the core mentioned by Xiao Wei and the source of the different plants. If we do not destroy it, we will never be able to ward off the threat of these monsters. But looking at the densely packed plant guards on the screen, I knew that this battle might be our last fight. Ziheo, when we come back, we need to make plans. I pressed the collar and said with a firm voice, tell everyone, be prepared today and start the attack tomorrow morning. I understand. Ziheo responded, and then the motorcycle's engine sound went from farther and closer, and he quickly returned to the thunder. As night falls, the temperature on the wasteland drops. Although the inside of the thunder is narrow, it can help the survivors stay together to keep warm. Ziheo and I stood in the driving wheel, and the screen in front of us showed the terrain map around the mother tree and the enemy distribution data. Most of the survivors in the interior have already fallen asleep, and only a few warriors are discussing tomorrow's battle in a low voice, and a tight and stressful atmosphere is filled with the air. Moon Master, the number of these plant guards is at least 10 times that of the previous ones. Ziheo pointed to the dense red spots on the screen, his eyebrows were tightly locked. And the energy field around the mother tree is very strong, and my tester is almost out of power. If it is hard, the thunder may not be able to hold it for 5 minutes. I know. I clicked my head, tapped my fingers lightly on the console, and the speed plate in my brain counted the strategy. The current state of thunder cannot support frontal conflicts. It lacks energy, is damaged by armor, and the firepower system is semi-invasive. It is head-on and death without any discrepancy. But if we didn't act, we would have been exhausted by Xiao Hui and her plant army. We're going to work together, I said in a deep voice, my eyes falling on Ziheo. You have a few warriors responsible for attracting the enemy's attention and distracting the attacks of the plant defenders as much as possible. I stayed in the thunder, using the heart of mechanism to unlock the new weapon system, and try to destroy the core of the mother tree in one shot. Attract attention. Ziheo raised his eyebrows and grinned, I like this activity. But Moon Master, can you unlock new weapons? The energy reserve of thunder is almost zero, and even the secondary cannon will not be opened. Try it. I closed my eyes and focused on the ability of the mechanical heart. The thunder numbers structure appears in the brain. The status of each part is clearly visible, and even the hidden codes of the deep layer system are captured by me. Amid a bunch of mixed data, I found a blocked module tagged as Energy Concentration Cannon, the ultimate weapon originally designed by the Thunder, but it has been dormant due to the high energy demand. Gathering energy to destroy the cannon. I murmured in a low voice, and a smile came out of the corner of my mouth. If this weapon can be unlocked, it may be the key to our counter-turning battle. But its startup conditions are extremely harsh. It not only requires a huge amount of energy, but also needs to reconstruct the thunder energy circuit. This is undoubtedly a huge challenge for me now. Yuzi, are you sure? Ziheo looked at me, his eyes full of worry. I have to try if I'm not sure. I opened my eyes and said with a firm spirit. This is our last chance. If we don't destroy the mother tree, all of us will die. Ziheo was silent for a while, and finally said a lot, okay, then I'll fight. I'll take someone out tomorrow morning to fight for time. Don't let me down. Don't worry. I patted his shoulder and then turned around and started preparing. The next night, I almost didn't fit my eyes, and my fingers quickly hit the console to try to crack the lock of the energy-constructing gun. The ability of the mechanical heart allows me to understand complex system structures instantly, but the problem of insufficient energy is always a hard injury. I could only connect all the energy circuits of the Thunder, and even dismantled some of the non-key armor energy supply modules, which forced the minimum startup requirements. When a grayish-white appeared on the sky, I finally heard the system prompt, the energy concentration cannon was successfully unlocked, the energy is being charged, and the expected completion time is 3 hours. 3 hours. I wiped off the sweat from my head and relaxed my breath. This means that after the battle begins, I must let Ziheo and the others hold on for 3 hours before they can make a fatal blow. In the early morning, the Thunder engine rose up again, carrying us, the survivors, and rushed to the area where the mother tree was located. On the plain, the black and green plant guards are like an endless ocean, with countless vines and cannibal flowers twisting on the ground, making a low roar like living creatures. The mother tree stands in the center, the huge branches radiate green light, and a strong sense of pressure is filled with the air. Humans, do you still dare to die? Xiao Hui's voice came from above the mother tree, cold and mocking. She floated in front of the tree's crack, and her figure was covered with green bulbs, as if it was melting into the mother tree. Her eyes were flashing with the green light, and a sneer came out of the corner of her mouth, Thunder. But it's a dying brackish iron. Today, I will destroy your hope in full. Stop talking. Ziheo's voice came from the collar, full of anger, brothers, come with me and give Yuzi a chance to fight for time. With a roar, Ziheo took several warriors out of the side of the Thunder. They rode the modified motorcycle, holding flame guns and blasting devices, and quickly rushed towards the side of the plant guardian. Several deep explosions sounded, and the flames and smoke instantly swallowed up No Vine, successfully attracting the attention of the defenders. A ridiculous little bitch. Xiao Hui snorted coldly, raised her hand and waved it. The countless vines and cannibal flowers seemed to hear orders and rushed towards Ziheo and the others. At the same time, the branches of the mother tree began to twist, and the sharp wooden thorns fell from the air like a rainstorm, smashing us to pieces in the front of the Thunder. Everyone, prepare for the fight. Defensive mode is activated. I shouted and quickly controlled the Thunder number to retract the deck to resist the attack. However, There were too many plant guards, and the wood thorns and vines kept hitting the zhongbao poker, making a harsh collision sound. The screen showed that the armor damage rate rose rapidly, quickly exceeding 85%. Bang! With a huge sound, a thick vine hit the left side of the thunder number hard, and the entire fortress shook violently, almost turning over. The sound of the inside was shocked. I looked down and the screen showed the bottom of the track on the left side, and the movement speed was forced to 0. Don't die, I can't move anymore. I gritted my teeth and quickly switched to the repair interface, and tried to repair the picture at a time. But the vine's attack did not weaken at all, and more monsters came from all directions. Several vines even penetrated the outer armor and tried to invade the inner carvings. I can't hold it on the left side. Someone in the inner chamber screamed, and the sound was full of fear. Don't panic, give me time. I gritted my teeth and responded, while checking the charging progress of the energy-gathering gun. The on-screen display shows that charging has been completed by 40%, and it will be nearly 2 hours from the launch. I know that if Zihao and the others did not lead more enemies, the thunder might not be able to be killed even at this moment. Zihao, what's the situation? I pressed the collar and spoke quickly. Okay, I've burned a bunch of vines, but these things seem to be killing them endlessly. Zihao's voice stopped, and it was obviously in a fierce battle. You are fast, we can't stop. I need time for another shot. I shouted, and my fingers quickly tapped on the console, trying to redistribute only the remaining energy to delay the collapse of the armor. The ability of the mechanical heart allows me to find the best solution in an instant, but I know that this is just a right to do so. If we cannot launch a crash gun, we will eventually be exhausted. We floated above the mother tree, her green eyes were coldly watching us, and the smile on the corners of her mouth became more and more intense. Humans, your piercing is indescribable. The power of the mother tree is something you can't imagine. The thunder number is just a joke, and will soon be torn to pieces by my army. Tear into pieces. Make a dream. I bit my teeth tightly, suppressing the anger in my heart, and continuing to focus on the charging progress. On the screen, the charging bar has climbed to 60%, but the armor damage rate of the thunder has reached 90%, and the alarm sounds are harsh, and crying and shocking sounds are rising one after another. At this moment, Zihao's voice came from the collar again, carrying a burst of excitement. I found a breakthrough. The guards on the east side of the mother tree are weaker. I took people to the past and tried to attract more monsters. You can seize the time. Okay, be careful. I responded, and at the same time, I controlled the secondary gun to open fire, barely repelling a few close vines. Zihao's actions were indeed effective. The explosion sound and flames on the east side attracted a large number of plant guards, and the attack pressure around the thunder reduced slightly. But we obviously won't let us succeed easily. She sneered and raised her hand to snatch the roots of the mother tree suddenly burst out from the ground, and turned towards Zihao and the others like a giant python. At the same time, more cannibal flowers emerged from the ground, giant buds opened their bloody mouths, spraying out rotten acid, and trying to swallow them. Zihao, hide! I shouted, but only a fierce gun and roar came from the phone. Then the signal continued, and it was obvious that they were in a difficult battle. As time passed, the thunder armor was almost torn apart, and a breath of hope was filled with the air inside. I bit my teeth tightly, staring at the charging bar on the screen, and finally heard the system prompt: the charging of the energy concentration gun is completed, and I'm ready. It's now. I suddenly opened my eyes and pressed my fingers to the ejaculation key. A deafening low bird came out from the top of the thunder. Then a hot white light column sprayed out from the fort, like a sword passing through the heaven and earth, directly towards the plant guards around the mother tree. A sound of shocking the earth's huge wave. Where the light column passed, countless vines and cannibal flowers instantly vaporized, turning into a group of black-gray, and even the ground was burned with a charred valley of up to several meters. The plant guards were torn a huge gap, and screams came one after another, as if these monsters could really feel pain. The black-green ocean around the mother tree was destroyed by most of the time, and the air was filled with a pungent burnt smell. My God! The survivors in the interior were stunned, and then a shout broke out, "Yuzi, you did it! My moon, this shot is so amazing!" Ziheo's voice came from the phone, full of shock. "These monsters were directly emptied, we have a chance." Xiaoyi's figure shook above the mother tree, and her green eyes flashed with anger. "Are you a bad person? Do you think this can harm the mother tree?" She raised her hands suddenly. Although the guards were recreated, the branches of the mother tree suddenly burst out with a strong green wave and smashed towards the thunder. Road! The thunder scale shook violently, and the broken armor sank directly. The screen showed that the injury rate reached 95%, and the alarm sounded almost pierced the eardrum. But I didn't retreat and quickly controlled the thunder to rush towards the direction of my mother tree. The energy of the energy-gathering gun has been consumed and it cannot be fired again in a short time, but this strike has won us a precious opportunity, so I must take advantage of the moment to break into the core area of the mother tree. "Ziheo, cover me up, I want to get in," I shouted, and at the same time, the collision pattern of the thunder number was activated. The impact angle in front of me extended out, and directly hit the roots of the mother tree with huge habits. With the sound of, several root systems were broken. Although the thunder number was created again, it finally penetrated into the energy field around the mother tree. Xiaoyi floated in front of the tree ripped, her face was blue and her voice was filled with anger. "Humans, you are looking for death." She raised her hand and the remaining plant guards rushed over again to try to intercept us, but Ziheo took the warriors from the side wings and used flame guns and blasting devices to set off a path. "My moon, the core area is ahead, please go in." Ziheo's voice came from the collar, and it was continuous but full of strength. "We will cover you up, don't worry about us." I bit my teeth and controlled the thunder to accelerate forward, and broke into a pile of dead bodies, finally entering the crack of the mother tree. The scene inside was creepy, and countless black and green trunks were squirming on the wall like living things. A strong smell of rotten smell was circulating in the air. A huge green light group floated in the center, scattering strong spiritual waves, that should be the core of the mother tree. Xiaoyi's figure appeared in front of the light group, her green eyes staring at me, and a cold smile was in her voice. "Humanity, the thunder number has ended here. Welcome to the core of the mother tree, I will let you see the true hope." "I hope." "Then try it." I gritted my teeth and responded. Although the state of thunder had reached its limit, there was no shortage in my eyes. The mechanical heart's ability allows me to perceive the weakness of the core, and as long as I destroy it, I can end it all. The battle has not ended yet, and the real battle has just begun. The thunder engine is low, carrying the hope of our survivors, ready to face the final challenge. The thunder engine made a low sound, like a dying beast making the final slap. In the core area of the mother tree, a strong smell of rotten smell was filled with the air, and the black and green trunks squirmed on the wall, making a low hissing sound like a living thing. The huge green light group in the central group radiated strong spiritual fluctuations, which made people almost unable to breathe. Xiaoyi floated in front of the light group, her green eyes staring at me, and a cold smile came out from the corner of her mouth, as if she had foreseen our end. "Human, the thunder number has ended here." Her voice seemed to be coming from the ground, carrying a strange resounding sound. "Welcome to the core of the mother tree, where your tomb will be. I will let you see the true hope." "I'm sure." "Then try it." I bit my teeth tightly, pressed the pressure in my heart, held the rod tightly with my fingers, and stared at the data on the screen. The thunder's status has reached its limit, with the armor injury rate reaching 95%, the left side of the shoe is completely wiped out, the energy reserve is almost zero, and even the secondary gun cannot move normally. But I didn't retreat. The ability of the mechanical heart allowed me to perceive the weaknesses of the core. As long as I destroyed that group of green light, I could end it all. "Ziheo, what's your situation?" I pressed the collar and spoke quickly. Outside, Ziheo and the warriors were covering me with all their might and fighting with the remaining plant guards. Can you still hold it? Ziheo's voice continued, full of anger and fatigue. These monsters are endless, but we will fight you for time. Yuezi, don't worry about us, and focus on fucking that guy. Received. I responded, then cut off the conversation, and focused on controlling the thunder to move forward slowly. The space in the core area of the mother tree is narrow, and the thunder number's body shape is almost impossible to fully expand, but this allows me to set goals more accurately. I closed my eyes, and the ability of the mechanical heart started instantly, and the structure of the thunder number appeared in the sea of brains, and at the same time, the data of the surrounding environment flooded into my mind like a flood. The energy fluctuations of that group of green light groups were unusually strong, but through the layer data, I finally captured a faint break. There was an unstable energy point deep in the light group. As long as I hit it, it could trigger a chain reaction and destroy the entire core. I found you. I murmured softly, and a sneer came out of the corner of my mouth. However, before I could make a complete plan, Xiaohui suddenly raised her hand and slapped it. The black and green rays on the wall seemed to have heard a command, and they came alive in an instant. Numerous thick plant touches came out from all directions, and they were like giant pythons toward the thunder. Bang! Bang! There were a few heavy sounds, and the thunder armor was hit hard by the touch, and the entire fortress shook violently, almost turning over. The screen showed that the armor damage rate directly exceeded 98%, the alarm sounded sharply, and there were shocking and crying sounds coming from the inside, and the military almost collapsed. Human, your shell is broken, still want to resist? Xiaohui's voice was full of ridicule. She floated in front of the light group, her green eyes flashing with the savage light. My touch will tear the thunder into pieces, your hope is nothing more than a joke. Just let's see who laughs the last. I gritted my teeth and responded, and quickly tapped the console with my fingers, trying to start the remaining secondary gun in the picture. However, the lack of energy reserve allowed the turret to emit a faint arc, and he barely retreated a few touches, unable to stop more monsters from coming. The attack of the touch became more and more fierce, and some even penetrated the outer armor, and the sharp barbs scratched the inner wall, making a harsh metal friction sound. My moon, the armor on the right side is almost broken. Someone in the inner chamber was startled, and the sound was filled with hope. Don't panic, grab it tightly, I won't let you have anything to do. I shouted, and quickly switched to the repair interface to try to repair the damaged parts at the moment. The ability of the mechanical heart allows me to find the best solution in an instant, but I know that this is just a measure of authority. The thunder has reached the edge of collapse. If we don't fight back as quickly as possible, we will really be completely defeated. Shall we seem to see through my piercing, and the smile on the corner of her mouth became even more intense. Human, your piercing is indescribable. The power of the mother tree is something you can't imagine. Every touch holds my will. Your shell is just a toy with a tiny, which will be crushed soon. Crush. Make a dream. I roared angrily, and the speed plate in my brain was counting on the countermeasures. The firepower of the secondary gun is not enough to meet such many touches. The electromagnetic gun and flame spraying system are in a remote state due to energy consumption. The only thing that can reverse the battle is the energy concentrating and destructive gun that has just been unblocked. But its charging has been exhausted in previous battles and is now unable to fire again. Energy, energy. I murmured softly, staring at the data on the screen, and a huge thought suddenly flashed in the sea of my brain. There is also an energy module for backup in the Thunder Core system. Although it is designed to maintain basic operation, if I can connect it to the energy concentrating circuit, or maybe I can hardly complete a charge. The only price is that this may completely destroy Thunder's system and even completely wipe out the fortress. I haven't had time to hesitate. I bit my teeth and quickly knocked on the console with my fingers, quickly re-editing the energy circuit. The ability of the mechanical heart allows me to understand the complex structure in an instant. The energy from the module is extracted vigorously, and the charging bar on the screen begins to rise slowly, 5%, 10%, 15%. Bang! Another loud noise was heard, and a thick touch hit the armor in front of the thunder number. The entire fortress suddenly retreated for a few meters. The damage rate on the screen reached 99%, and almost all the warning lights were lit up. The crying and shocking sounds in the interior came one after another. I could feel everyone's fear, but I didn't have time to calm them down, so I could only grit my teeth and hold on. Yuzi, we're almost out of the way. Xiaoya's voice came from the phone, with a crying voice, these monsters, they're coming in. Stop it, just 1 minute. I shouted, my palms filled with sweat, and my eyes were fixed on the charging bar. The attack of the touch became more and more fierce. The thunder armor was torn into pieces, and several sharp barbs had already penetrated into the wall. The test dragged us out of this shelter. Humanity, it's over. Xiaoyi's voice sounded, and with a sense of perseverance, she raised her hand and shook more touches from the wall, like an endless wave, coming towards the thunder. Just as the hair was so strong that the system prompt sound finally came out, the energy gathering and destruction cannon charging is completed, and you're ready to go. It's now. I suddenly opened my eyes and pressed my fingers to the ejaculation key. A deafening low bird came out from the top of the thunder. The entire fortress shook violently because of the overload. Then a hot white light column sprayed out from the fort, like a sword passing through the heaven and earth, heading straight towards the energy point deep in the green light group. Zhi, a sound of shocking the earth's huge impact, the light column hit the target, and the green light group burst out with a strong light as if it was torn apart, and then it began to shake violently. The countless black and green junctions seemed to have their vitality been drained, and they instantly withered and fell to the ground. The attack of the touching hand came to an abrupt end and turned into a pile of charred bones. The core area of the mother tree was completely destroyed by the waves of light columns, the wall collapsed, the ground cracked, and even the Xinhui figure was swallowed up and not in the light. No, this is impossible. Xiaoyi's voice was filled with unwillingness and shock. Her body gradually disintegrated in the light, and her green eyes flashed with a flash of hope. Human, how could you? Look at me again, Guardian. I said softly, a tired smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. Thunder issued a harsh alarm because of overloading, and the data display system on the screen is about to collapse, but I know that this shot has ended everything. With the collapse of the green light group, the core area of the mother tree began to shake violently, and the entire giant tree seemed to have lost its support and began to collapse from the inside. The huge branches broke and the roots were pulled out from the ground, making a deafening sound of birds. The black and green plant guardian statue was cut off and connected, and it withered and fell to the ground, without any sign of life. My moon, you did it. Ziheo's voice came from the collar, full of shock and excitement. The mother tree fell down. All these monsters are dead. Everyone, ready to evacuate, the thunder number can't be stopped. I shouted, quickly switched to emergency mode, and controlled the fortress to retreat. Although the mother tree has been destroyed, the thunder system collapsed due to overloading and could explode at any time. I must take everyone away as soon as possible. After a few minutes, thunder finally broke out of the core area of the mother tree and stopped in a ruin. With a low sound of rush, the engine of the fortress turned off, and all the data on the screen reached zero. The thunder finally completed its mission and turned into a pile of broken iron shells. I pushed open the door of the driving wheel and walked out stumbled. The sky outside was still dark, but the mother tree far away had finally collapsed, and the black and green plants were defeated and there was no threat. Ziheo and the warriors came from afar, covered in dust and blood, but their eyes were filled with joy after the disaster. Ziyu, you guy. Ziheo rushed over and hugged me, choking in his voice, you really did it. We survive. Stop sensationalism, there is something to do. I smiled reluctantly, patted his shoulder, and then turned to look at the survivors behind me. They walked out of the thunder, including elderly people, children, and injured warriors. Everyone was tired of their faces, but there was a lot of hope in their eyes. Yuzi, thank you. Xiaoya walked to me, her eyes were red. If it weren't for you, we would have died long ago. Silly, what a fool to say. I rubbed her hair, my voice was low but warm. We are partners, and no one will lose. The collapse of the mother tree was completely lifted with the threat of the different plants, and the air on the wasteland seemed to have become a little fresher. Although thunder has been declared, its mission has been completed. It has protected us survivors and human hope with its last strength. A few months later, a new plant began to appear in a clearing area on the wasteland. We built a simple residence with materials rolled from the ruins. Although the conditions were bitter, everyone was full of slaughter. The remains of the mother tree were cleaned up, and although the land was barren, we began to try to plant some drought-tolerant crops to try to resurrect this deserted world. I stood on a high ground, holding a broken control panel in my hand, which was a Thunderbolt movie. Although it can no longer be transferred, I still keep it as a thought. Looking back on the hardships along the way, from the initial hope to the final victory, I truly understand that thunder is not only a fortress, but also a symbol of our will. Yuzi, are you stupid again? Ziheo walked over from a distance, grinned, his face full of sweat. He just came back from the field, holding a handful of simplicity tools in his hand. Everyone is busy, can't you, such a great hero, steal it? Who did you steal it? I gave him a blank look, then put the control panel in my pocket, and turned around toward the residence. Let's go, there are still many parts to be repaired. Although the thunder number is gone, we have to build something new and can't always rely on manual work. I just knew you couldn't stay free. Ziheo laughed and followed me. As the sun sets, a faint light shines out from the gray sky. Although it is small, it is enough to make people feel a warmth. The survivors are busy in their residences, some repair houses, some take care of crops, and the children's laughter comes from time to time, like the most heard melody in the end of the world. I stopped and looked back at this small home, and a feeling that was difficult to describe in my heart. From a girl who only practices machinery to a warrior who leads everyone to fight against the mother tree, I finally understand my mission, not only to protect everyone, but also to hope to retake roots and sprout on this wasteland. Ziyu, what are you thinking? Ziheo looked at me, with a curiosity in his eyes. Nothing. I smiled and turned around and continued, I just thought it would be better in the future. Ziheo clicked the head a little, but didn't say anything, just followed me silently. We walked shoulder to shoulder, behind us were the busy figures of the survivors and the laughter of the children, and ahead was an unknown but full of hope. The darkness of the last days has passed, and the thunder's saying will remain forever on this wasteland. And I, Yuezi, will lead everyone and rebuild our home step by step, allowing human fire to rekindle on this deserted land.